Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you're all having an amazing day. We're starting off with the black pieces against an 1884 from the United States. I decided to play a Scandinavian here, going back to our roots a bit. And we get the Bishop D5 line, which is very funny, because we actually played that as white yesterday. I believe, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And, important to note, plus 8 points if we win this. Very, very exciting stuff. They play Bishop C4, which is an interesting line. Trying to hang on to this pawn a bit more. And we are going to have to play C6 eventually. So we'll do... I believe Bishop G4 is a line, but we'll go Bishop F5. With some threats of... getting a fork here. I was trying to say. So I believe the line here is knight c6, which is when this bishop comes in handy because you've got two options to try to attack the pawn. D3 does stop it, but then they're playing d3 and the bishop's potentially misplaced with like a knight a5. Could work. Alternatively, we could do a plan like knight d7, knight b6. Just to get another attacker onto this, but they always have like a queen f3, so it never really works. C6, queen f3 straight away. We probably go bishop g4. So let's play c6. A bit of a gambit. But these sorts of lines are pretty standard against, yeah. And then they go ahead and play d3, which is what we were expecting, really, to be honest. Knight a5 is probably the way to play it, although the check you have to be weary of. Yeah. 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 I don't think we've got any tricks. We're just gonna try play solid, try limit the reach of white's pieces. I think an a6 is going to be fine, looking to sort of kick it out straight away. You know, we've got knight a5 coming. I think that's fine. Bishop b3, we probably don't want to take it. We probably want to play like a b5 first. You know, we don't want to run the risk of them playing a3 and then keeping this bishop permanently. So I think here knight a5, sorry if I know my letters and numbers, is fine here. Bishop takes is an interesting line, but king g8 at the end after the check is fine, I believe. Let's think about playing b5. Although it doesn't really do much for us. We could take this straight away, I think. Rook c8 here is probably fine. Alternatively, just e6, I think works. And just get this dark squared bishop developed. Get the queens lined up. And try to do something about that, hopefully. We'll play a bishop e7, just because I don't want any tactics with these pins. We are down a pawn, that is important to note. We are down a pawn, but we get, I think, adequate compensation for the pawn. Maybe not top tier compensation, but we definitely get an amount of play for the pawn. With slightly better development, I guess you could claim. So we'll take the bishop, I think. It's about time. And then think about hitting this knight. We can play like a h6. We could castle. I think it's probably best to castle early, while you have the chance. And then maybe start potential kingside attack. Would be quite nice to have. Again, we have the bishop pair. So that's always a plus factor. Sometimes it's less useful than it looks. But it's always just nice to have because it's the bishop pair. That's all I can say. All I can say about that, really. G5 not necessary. There are too many tactics. Although they don't have any mating attacks at the minute, it's not worth risking it, I don't think, in my opinion. We need to try drum up some play. We do need to try drum up some play. How are we going to do that? Maybe G5, G4 isn't actually that stupid of an idea. Isn't actually that stupid of an idea. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Let's go. Let's go Rook C8. Let's go Rook C8. I like Rook C8. We're putting pressure on their pawns, I think. Not a horrible move. I don't think it's probably going to be an inaccuracy, and we need to make more play on the king side. But I don't think it's terrible. I would have. Whoa, that's very, very risky. Surely, knight takes is screaming. I think with the obvious threat of bishop takes. So it would be knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, pawn takes. At which point pawn takes is nice. You have the threat on the rook. On the knight, sorry. You don't have anything immediately to back it up with. But there are definitely ideas there. Definitely ideas. A rook lift here could be a pretty good idea, I think. Again, I don't think there's anything quite concrete yet, although rook g5 would probably work well. So knight takes is calling to me, and the only reason it's not bishop takes, because you want this threat of the bishop. I think. Yeah, no. So it's probably going to be knight takes if we want to do it, but it would be sacking a piece for 2 pawns. We are down a pawn, so technically it's a piece for 1 pawn. Ooh, for a weakened king, that's asking a lot, I think. But this rook is very well placed. I think we're going to do it. Thing is, it's one of those moves I'd be... Oh. Well, we just take this then. Not take the bishop. Yeah, we take the pawn and not the bishop. With the threat of just winning the bishop. And I think it transposes. Which is fine. They go there. Interesting. And we'll do our rook lift maneuver. We'll do our little rook lift and see how that goes. We have takes with check now as well, if the queen moves. Is a very interesting possibility. Knight there, I don't like. We have rook there. Is the immediate threat. Just threatening to win the piece back straight away. They're going to really actually struggle against that. Yeah, really struggle against that, I think. We can even try bringing more pieces, really. I mean, takes is the obvious threat, I think. Takes... Oh, knight takes is annoying. Yeah, knight takes is annoying. Well, we could just do queen f6, right? Queen f6. Say a stupid move. And then takes, knight takes. No, that would just be a bad trade. That would just be a bad trade. Let's try this then. Is an idea. Maybe not. We definitely have ideas. Definitely have ideas. Rook h5 is an idea. But then rook there seems to work quite nicely. I think queen f6, to be honest. We're threatening this pawn in a cheeky manner, I think. Yeah, they go there, which is reasonable. And now I think rook g5 could be relatively nice. Because we are covering this, so they can't do king takes. I think that's relatively nice. And then we have threats of rook h5 if they go away with the king. Sorry. Rook takes is probably a good move, I reckon. And we always have time potentially for another rook lift. Rook lifts on rook lifts, you know? Whoa. Oh, so what? What? Just give up their queen for the rook? Queen for the rook. I mean, I'm not complaining. We have a minute 35 to play this. I'm not complaining one bit. We'll throw in the check. Then we'll pick up some pawns. Thank you very much. Not complaining about that one bit. Yeah, wow. Wow. And as long as I think we don't run out of time here, we could be in for a winner. Could potentially be in for a winner. Our king's relatively secure. They could get some very quick progress on our king, though, so we have to watch out for that. But 2 rooks for the queen would work, I believe. We'll take this, threaten to take this, with the hit on the rook as well. More trades, the better, I believe. Yeah, let's get this rook out. We'll play with all our pieces. You know, I think that's a pretty good general idea. We'll take their rook as well. I could have done that a move before. With check. We'll throw in some more checks. See what happens. Go there, I think is a good move. Check. King moves up. Is fine. Potentially winning this knight would be nice. I think this sort of plays itself. They're going to struggle. They're really going to struggle. I think there's a lot to analyse in this afterwards. I'm very much looking forward to that. King moves is fine. We just move the rook away wherever we go. Yeah. Let's go there. I think that works. Just hitting the knight again. So we're making more threats. 1 minute 10 to win this. They resign. 1900. It's a bit of an anticlimactic way to get there, but you know what? We got there, and let's have a look and see if we're in the ballpark with this sacrifice. Because I'm very interested in that one. I didn't get an achievement. I thought I would have got an achievement for 1900. I guess not. But hey, no brilliancies, but we were never really in trouble. They had a slight advantage, as you would sort of assume from going down a pawn in the opening. But anyway, 88.7% accuracy versus a 79.0, 2300 versus 2000. So, high quality game. Oh, let's not go to the end. Yeah, we know this opening. We won't dwell on it too long. I play bishop e2. Bishop d3 is also a viable move. Bishop c4 is also a viable move. Takes also a viable move. So a lot of moves here are good. This hangs on to the pawn. Like, if you want to play up a pawn, down potentially a bit of development, this is a very good way to do it. You know, you're sort of forcing either black to play very slowly to try win back their pawn, or force them into a bit of a gambit. So I think it's a very solid option. And the computer does like g4, but bishop f5 is still fine. Like I said, the computer likes their gambits, so c6 is the computer move. I'll show you as well. Knight d7 I think is still fine. Inaccuracy, it says. Really? Inaccuracy. I guess just queen f3. Queen f3, there is knight e5 ideas. Let's see, d3. Knight b6. Queen f3, yeah. What about bishop there? Queen there. Oh, and you still can't take this because your bishop's... yeah, your bishop's pinned. Your knight's tied to your bishop. So, c3 is the way to play. c6, sorry, is the way to play. And this is very similar to the panel transfer, except their pawns are not as committed. So it's a bit more difficult, a bit less sort of natural. a6 is the right move. We kicked the bishop a bit, and then played e6. not good. Apparently queen c7's the way to play it. I don't really see what queen c7's doing, to be honest. Yeah, no clue. No clue. I guess it just likes that square for future use. I'm not sure. Bishop g5. Yeah, bishop e7, sort of obvious. We take off the bishop there. I think more due to lack of moves, to be honest. Castles, you have to eventually. And then rook c8. I really like rook c8. You might, and I was thinking I wanted to keep my rook on this a file if they eventually tried to break through with their pawn majority. But I think c5's a lot more active. You know, it sort of ties this knight down to the c pawn. And I think just gives a bit more play. g4, yeah. It doesn't look nice. It's not a move you want to play. It's completely unnecessary. Your pieces are a bit too uncoordinated for an attack. The computer likes rook a4, and I definitely agree, because it stops any takes straight away. Not that that's a threat, I don't think, because it's not a brilliant move showing up, but it looks a lot more natural if you get like even just one more piece in the game, you know. Takes. Apparently the move is bishop h8, and by the way, this is still slightly better for white. This is 0.3. Before it was 0.9, so maybe negligible, but still an amount. And then takes goes to 1.4. But I think, yeah, maybe our play's a bit slow with both of these rook lifts, because we sort of need both the pieces in, both the rooks in, to actually make it work. So maybe it's a bit slow and doesn't quite work. But to say we go down a piece and it only be 1.4 difference, you know, I think that's compensation. It's playable, you know. Yeah, and the computer likes the way we play it. Oh, f5 though, and that completely shuts down rook c5. That's very peculiar. Just to go rook g6 instead. Fair enough, fair enough. We went this way with this rook instead. Not a big fan. And again, it loves this rook a4. Loves this rook a4 hitting the bishop, which I do agree with. Yeah, and this was a bit annoying. Rook f5's making an immediate threat of just takes. Knight back, yeah, queen f6, sort of adding on to the threat, but not really. It's more just tying their pieces down a bit. Rook a4, yeah, rook g5 here is sort of scary, I think. And this is the first time we get a bit of an advantage. This is minus 0.6, so slightly better for black. The best move was rook g1, and I really, really like rook g1. Not only avoiding any pins, it's not really a pin though. It's sort of counter-attacking potentially, and making an escape square for the king at the same time. So I do really like that. Rook g5 and then knight takes. Yeah, I thought rook takes was the better move. It kills my only sort of counterplay. I get a check, but your knight's doing such a good job of blocking all of my checking squares after the king goes away. I can't really do much about it, to be honest. So I might get a few checks. I might get a bit of counterplay. I might get this b pawn if nothing else works. But yeah, knight takes is just, it's delusional, to be honest. I don't know why this was going through their mind. A rook for a queen is never a good idea, because it's not a rook and a piece. You know, both of these pieces are under threat, so it doesn't really work out that way. It's just a queen for a rook. You might think you have a threat, but just check, it's fine. And then I get the pawn, and then I get another pawn. I could have taken the rook there. It wants f5 straight away, and I'm guessing just f4 afterwards as well with this nasty pin. Take the rook, you know, f4, f5, resign. Simple as, to be honest, simple as. Let's have a quick look at some theory, because this is a position I should really know more about. With bishop c4, bishop g4 is the way to play it. b5, apparently an interesting line as well. Let's have a quick look at that. Bishop b3, yeah, bishop g4 then. So you play bishop g4 anyway. F3, yeah. And this is sort of like the Portuguese gambit, I believe it's called. Where you play like an e6 here. I think this is without the bishop there. Potentially even with... No, yeah, so it's with d4 instead of the bishop out, I think. Very interesting gambit. I don't like it, but there are some very, very reputable lines in that. And you go... Oh, yeah, I remember now. So you go bishop f5 after you've induced the weakness. The queen or the knight can no longer get in there as well. And now you're safe to go bishop f5. That's what I was missing. That's what I was missing. And this is a lot more balanced. Then you can do this knight maneuver. And potentially win back the pawn because there's no queen f3. That's one to remember, folks. That is one to remember. But anyway, 1900, bang on the dot. I am extremely happy with that. It's been a long time coming. And I think, to be honest, honestly, I think we can go even further. If I can get my time management under control a bit better, if I stop waffling on about stuff, potentially, I 2000 is extremely doable. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think we can, to be honest. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.